हेलो हेलो बंद करो. अभी ऑफ है ना? अच्छा on.
Ah, yes, perfect.
A very warm good morning to all of you. Let me begin today's event by welcoming our chief guest, R.N. Bhaskar sir, our esteemed IILM fraternity members, starting with our Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Sujata Shahi ma'am, our Pro Vice Chancellor Dwarkanath sir, our Director Dr. Arvind Chaturvedi sir, and all our faculty members and students, along with some industry experts. May I request Professor Astha to kindly present the books to our esteemed members on the stage. We shall now unveil the book. All right, thank you everyone. Okay, let me give a brief introduction of our guest today and the book that we are about to discuss. A book launch is a momentous occasion that serves not only as a means for releasing a book into the world, but also serves as an amazing accomplishment of writing a text that remains for posterity. Congratulations on reaching this incredible milestone on your writing and publishing journey, sir. Sir may be classified as an educationist, teacher, and journalist with decades of experience in each of these sectors. He teaches at various management institutes in India and abroad. He's also a consulting editor with the Free Press Journal. He likes analyzing economic trends, looks closely at corporate strategies, and believes that India has enormous potential provided the governments follow some very strictly defined policies. The book that we are discussing today is called Gautam Adani, Reimagining Business in India and the World. It lies at an interesting interplay between the aspirations of business-minded individuals and national interest-motivated governments. Most entrepreneurs fall by the wayside and only the tenacious survive. Gautam Adani has been categorized as one such businessman. One of the richest men in the world, he also helms a business empire that is now India's largest player in ports and renewable energy. No one can deny the sheer force and pace of Adani's business empire. By taking control of India's business narrative, he makes us believe that we don't need to be second to anyone anymore. Neither can we deny that Adani has both fans and detractors in an equal measure. There are a plenty of intriguing nuggets in this book. Let me bring two for your view. The author has quoted T.S. Eliot and asked us, where does one draw the line between tradition and individual talent? He then talks about studies worldwide that have shown that the most successful entrepreneurs build on their social capital. An interesting juxtaposition of social, political, economic, and cultural connections. An interesting parallel is then drawn between Adani, a man who had no formal training in business, and Sir Don Bradman, a man without any formal training in cricket. The latter enjoys an average of 99.94 and is easily considered the greatest ever. Well, at least we can't argue with that. The book offers a noteworthy chronological outline of the industrialist's work and shall always have that value. I shall now invite Bhaskar sir to the podium to enlighten us about his work.
Hello. Yes. Thanks. Thank you very much for those wonderful words. And when I listen to her, I wonder if I'm the same person. I wrote this book mostly by accident. When I wrote my last book, Game India, which was on strategies that could change India, that could steer India to enormous wealth, I thought that would be the last book. But then events moved so quickly. By the end of 2019, when the pandemic was in full swing, it was possibly the fact that I had to sit at home all the time that I began looking at things afresh, picking up things that I had caught in the past and trying to see if I could make some sense out of them. That was also the time when Gautam Adani had started climbing the rankings in the world to become the first Indian to reach the top 10 wealth generators in the world. There was another reason to be pleasantly surprised. This was the first time an Indian had beaten the Chinese. The Chinese are better than India, better than most universities in education and wealth generation and whatnot. India was a straggler, and all of a sudden, India was in the news. And then I look back at the times when I had met Gautam Adani several times, right from 2007, actually 2005, but those were casual meetings, nothing serious. I was working for a German publishing group at that time called DVV Media. That means that the German publishing group was into logistics. And all of a sudden I got a message from Germany that, Bhaskar, if you have the time, try to see what's happening at Mundra. Everyone in the logistics industry is talking about Mundra. I did not know Gautam Adani was behind Mundra, but I made some inquiries, and using friends and friends of friends, I managed to get a connection to Mundra, reached there uninvited, met this friend of a friend of a friend, who was courteous enough to show me around the port, and then asked his managers. There was a Captain Umesh Abhyankar, who was in charge of the port at that time, to find out if they would be willing to talk to me officially on what the port is all about. At that time, when I saw the port, I was flabbergasted. I was flabbergasted because this was India's first all-weather deep water port with a depth of 22 meters, 18 meters near the port and 22 meters a little beyond with a SBM, a special buoy which is put out in the sea for larger ships. At that time, JNPT, India's largest port owned by the government, had a depth of just 12 to 14 meters. None of the big ships could come to India, so that they would go either to Singapore or to Jebel Ali port in Dubai, and then offload the consignments for India, which would come to India on smaller boats, so that they could manage to reach the coast. Mundra was a possibility that India could become a destination port without any transshipment. The next day, I met Gautam Adani in Ahmedabad. Of course, he was not as big as he is today. He had the time, he had the willingness, and he had charm, all the three. And he met me and he explained to me how the port was built. Once again, I was wide-mouthed, lapping in every word that he spoke. And what was amazing is that the port came to him by accident. And I've explained that in the book. But when he built the port, he didn't have the money. And everyone wanted him to put up 6,000 crores. He said, I don't have that kind of money. And many people thought he was just bluffing his way through. After the planners had left India, he called a council of his own managers and he said, these are the plans to put up 6,000 crores up front, I can't do it. I have 100 crores, find out what we can do immediately and generate money from this place where we're going to build a port. He had already broken up the entire port into several modules, and he used the first module to generate money for the second, for the third, for the fourth. And modularly he built the port in record time faster than if he had put up 6,000 crores up front. And that was where I began to realize this man has the ability to think finance and restructuring projects in a way that very few people have. After Mundra, his success was inevitable. And the core factor which made him succeed was that he was a trader. He began his career by trading in diamonds. Then from diamonds he moved on to plastics. From plastics he went on to coal, and then he became an export-import house. And then when Mundra was to be built, because he was importing coal, his first terminal was a coal terminal. His next terminal was an edible oil terminal. His third terminal was a grains terminal. Each of them backed with a trading activity that he was already involved in. Had he not been a trader, the port would not have made money. And some of the best industrialists in this world are traders turned industrialists. A trader thinks short term. A trader senses opportunity, smells money, and knows how to make the money and get out. To become an industrialist, you have to move from a short term to the long term, without losing the sense of smelling money and opportunity at the same time. Very few traders make the transition from short term to long term. Gautam Adani was one of the few people who did it. And even today, many of his projects are on account of his trading skills. There are other qualities, but that will come out as we start talking about various other things. Somewhere down the trading route, Gautam Adani also picked up another idea. When he was importing coal, he knew that he would succeed because of just one reason. The government needed power, it needed energy security, and you also knew when your ability to make money coincides with the government's desire to do something, when both are aligned to each other, success is inevitable. And that has become his mantra. Always align your business interests with national interests. Chances of losing are practically nil. I was lucky because of another reason. I had done several stories for on Gautam Adani, several interviews with him. In 2013, the family called me and said, Bhaskar bhai, we want you to do a small book on Gautam Adani. It's his 50th birthday. We want a book to be written for the family. Only 25 copies of the book are printed. But because I was assigned the job, I was given free access to all the managers in the group, all the family members in that fold. I don't think that this book would be possible without my access to those managers in 2013. As I said, I forgot about it. In 2019, the ash on the embers were pushed aside and the glow was visible. Here was a man who had actually transformed India. That was the title of my first article of Gautam Adani, The Man Who Could Change India. By 2019, 2020, the title was prophetic. He had actually changed India in many ways. I'm glad I got the opportunity to write the book. I don't think I could have done it by myself. The fates were kind. They opened doors for me, and I happily grabbed those possibilities. I'm glad to be here. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm now opening the platform up for question and answers.
Thank you.
So, Apala, can I take the opportunity to ask first question?
Certainly, ma'am. It should come from you.
Thank you, Apala. So, sir, I have when I was reading this book, you mentioned, even right now you mentioned he transformed India. And you have mentioned in your book he's a game changer in India. And you mentioned 5 because my background is psychology, so I was interested in his personality traits. So you have mentioned 5 traits especially. I'm not talking about the first trait, I will ask later. A strong relationship, that is like you mentioned, like his interpersonal relationship was very strong. Even Peon had access to Mr. Adani to talk as per his PA. Second, you mentioned, right now you mentioned alignment of his interest with national interest. That was the coal, power, which he identified the vision and we did. He also respected like fair play, fair game with others. And another important point was like he was not willing to block others' developmental path because of competition or something. I'm interested in, sir, the first part, that his unwillingness to raise funds from an investing public. So, sir, could you little bit elaborate this one? I requesting.
You see, in India, we've got a tradition of promoters going public and raising money from an investing public. And after they've got the money, they sit with the drawing boards and start planning how the project will be rolled out. Gautam Adani was different. He put his own money first. He made sure that the project started making profits, and only when it made profits, he would offer it as an investment opportunity to the public. This was brilliant because it made the public realize that the risk element for the investing public was not there any longer. There was a second reason possibly. As I told you, Gautam Adani thinks numbers. And in the book I mentioned how when a large project is put up, which is going to germinate and flower 5 years later, you start working on DCF tables, discounted cash flow, to find out what the value of the project will be 5 years hence. It involves interest, it involves depreciation, it involves everything else. Because time is money. And he would tell the accountant, do the DCF calculations. I think the answer should be X. Intuitively, he knew what the answers were, which accountants would take few days, sometimes weeks to calculate. When Gautam Adani started making profits first and then offering the shares to the public, there was possibly, in the financial mind, there was one more reason. If your company is making profits, you can get a higher valuation. So his share prices, at which he offered the public, were always high. And if we look at it, he did not offer all his shares. He only offered 10%, maybe 15%, maybe 20%. On an average, 70% of the holding of the group lies with Gautam Adani. It is not surprising that Azim Premji, another industrialist I admire immensely, also has 70% of the equity. Coincidentally, both of them were traders. Coincidentally, both of them were kachis. A kachi trader is a formidable quality. And by keeping 70%, the float is narrow in the market, the valuations go further. And then when he offers a small amount at a higher premium, it affects the valuations of the entire group, and he uses the capitalization route to build up the valuation of the entire group and of each company separately and collectively. So that is the reason why he did not offer shares to the public till he had first generated profits. It did one more thing. It made him sit very carefully with his managers to make sure that implementation schedules are respected. All his projects have had no time overruns. A remarkable feat in India. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you, sir. And I think this is a good lesson for all of us. We have management students sitting here and entrepreneur also. This one is lesson for all of us, learning from Gautam Adani. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Makes me think I should listen to my intuition more often. All
Yes,
right.
you should.
Let's move to our young audiences and let's have questions from our young graduates and postgraduates. You can raise your hands and the mic shall reach you.
Sir, we have with us right now undergraduate students for mass communication and journalism.
Okay, lovely. As I said, it was an accident. I would not have written a book if you'd asked me about it 5 years ago, 10 years ago. But events moved so quickly. One was Gautam Adani's meteoric rise, which made him writable. The second was maybe the COVID pandemic, which left me with few opportunities meeting people, so I had more time to introspect and think about what I could do. And the third was my awareness of the wealth potential of India. I will send to your teachers a small chart which I could not publish in the book because of copyright reasons. But there's an economist called Angus Maddison. If you check up Google, you'll find out Angus Maddison, Maddison. And Angus Maddison was an economist, he's dead now, but his institute which he formed still survives in Sweden. It's an institute for global economics. What he did was right from 1950s or 60s, he started collecting every historical account of trade and commerce. He took, let's say, the archives, the writings of Pliny and what Rome did. He took up the shipping manifests of trade between UK and India. He took the shipping manifests of trade between India and China. And taking all these manifests, he put them in a database, and it's crystallized in one single chart, which shows that for right from 2000 BC till about 1500 AD, the territories which you today call China and India accounted for 70% of wealth generation, and India, the territory called India, had a larger share. India and China were the original wealth generators in this world. In 1500, both India and China suffered slightly because the Western world discovered the printing press. And the printing press democratized knowledge. The first things we printed were religious books, like the Bible, leave that aside. But then immediately you had trade routes of seas printed. And then when you had trade routes of the seas printed, and then you also had the Industrial Revolution and someone invented the steam engine, you put a map and a steam engine together. You have ships, you have exploration, and with exploration comes colonization. After 1800, India and China fall precipitously as colonization takes roots. Colonization does some terrible things. It first takes away your land, then it takes away your wealth, and then it takes away your dignity, giving you no chance to recover. It's only the recent 20 years or 30 years that both India and China have begun to discover the ancient DNA of how to generate wealth once again. China more surely than India. And this is the era where the center of gravity of wealth generation will be shifting from the west to the east. And not coincidentally, call it karma, call it the cycle of life, call it accident. All the countries that lived on other people's money of colonization, including the US, which is reverse colonization because that's slavery. All the countries that lived off other people's money are the countries that are in financial mess today. This could be Asia's century. And I realized Gautam Adani was possibly a symbol of that turn of events. You need a leader to charge and the rest follow. Maybe this could be a representation of that phenomenon.
Okay, and with that we move on to the second question.
Hello, sir. many congratulations for bringing this book out, and we would be able to know more about this man. Thank you so much for that. I would like to ask a question, not to a journalist, not to the biographer, but to an educationist. Do you think that a businessman or a trader can do business, do trading ethically and make money at the same time? Thank you so much.
Ethics is a strange word. Ethics has different meanings for different people. When the Tatars built the empire, they made the money through opium. It was legally allowed. Ethically, I'm not sure. When the Bureaus made money, they did a lot of jute smuggling and jute trading. Legally, right maybe. Ethically, may not be. That's why I said ethics is a very strange word. You can interpret it whichever way you want. The answer is, are you bringing wealth to your country? If you are, maybe it's a right thing for the country. That's point one. Point two, no country can become a great country, and this includes India, unless you improve education, unless you improve healthcare, and you improve your judicial system. India lags in all the three. At the primary education level, I'm not talking this institute, but I'm talking in general. At the primary education system, our country is woefully deficient. So what did Gautam Adani do? Wherever he had business, he went to the state government and said, do you have any government schools that you want me to help with? He adopted the schools without changing the teachers. He only brought in management principles of measuring input and output. A teacher did not make the student improve every three months. The teacher was asked why. That sheer monitoring of input output made the teachers better. And as Preeti Adani told me, the clear proof of our success is parents in these states are now taking our children from the private schools and asking us, can you put them in Adani school, which are government owned. Today he has about 6,000 schools. He is transforming education in his own way. If that is not ethics, I don't know what is. That's it.
Okay, and now we have the next question from Priyanka. Can you please take the mic to him?
Yes. Yes, yes. Sorry, Kutchi doesn't mean weak, Kutchi doesn't mean soft, Kutchi, it doesn't mean raw. Kutch is a region in the north of Gujarat, next to Rajasthan. It's an arid region. There's nothing that can possibly grow there. People who live there have to manage with sparse means, use whatever resources they have very, very carefully and still make money. But Kutch has one advantage, it's next to sea. So all the Kutchis were traders, trading between the Gulf region and India. It is a DNA that got finessed over the years, and these Kutchis became the most astute of traders. For them, education doesn't mean much. If there's an opportunity to make money and studying, they'll make money. Remember Azim Premji, a man I admire. He was studying at Stanford, his father died, someone had to look after his business. He left Stanford, came back to India. To India's advantage. Gautam Adani could not meet his attendance norms at the college where he was studying, gave up education, went into diamond trading. And he had his brothers as examples. Both had studied management and petrochemicals in the US, came back and became traders. The Kutchi does not like being an employee. He likes being an entrepreneur. So when I talk about Kutch, it's Kutch. The people from Kutch who are called Kutchis. Thanks. I didn't think of it that way. My apologies.
Okay, students, I think it's prudent to mention here that not everybody who misses attendance becomes Adani. So you have to come to your classes regularly, even after this. Okay, let's move on to the next question.
Good morning, sir. So, what is the toughest challenge in the course of writing this book? Thank you, sir.
What is the biggest challenge?
Toughest challenge while
The
writing.
toughest challenge is persuading Gautam Adani to let me write the book. I remember I had all the information. But by 2019, when I decided to write the book, I asked the family, they said, don't write a book. My heart went one way. The response I got from the other side went the other way. I followed my heart. I kept on working on the book. In 2021, I told the family formally that Penguin had signed me on and I was writing this book. And there was a huge uproar within the family. How can you do this? And I was alarmed. The last thing I wanted was a case against me. I'm a small person. If a man like Adani decides to use the courts against me, he can block my book, he can sue me for damages, many things are possible. So, using a variety of means, I got a meeting with Gautam Adani this March, and I told, and that's not given in the book, but I can tell you about it. And Gautam Adani said, why do you want to write the book? I said, I think it needs to be written. He said, will we get a copy of the manuscript? I said, no, you won't. It's not a sponsored book. He said, then how do I trust you? I said, you've known me for 18 years. If you can't trust me even after 18 years, then I can't do anything about it. He said, why should we allow you to? I said, for a simple reason. You have reached a stage where someone or the other is going to write about you. You know me, let me write about it. You do not know someone else, if he writes about it, you may regret it. And Gautam Adani smiled and he said, go ahead. That was the toughest part.
Okay, do we have any more questions? Yes.
Sir, I would like to ask that what Gautam Adani did. So I would like to ask that what did he learn from his mistakes he had made in his past so that he became successful out of it?
What you call mistakes are not mistakes. Did Gautam Adani make a mistake when he gave college education? Some people said yes. Mistakes are what you perceive them to be mistakes. A savvy person converts the mistakes into opportunities, converts the mistakes into lessons to use for climbing the next rung. I think Gautam Adani would not like any part of his life to be called a mistake. He would call it a learning. And there's a story about a trader who made a mistake and made the group lose a lot of money and gave his resignation. And Gautam Adani knew the man was very good. He called him. He said, are you trying to leave me after making a mistake at my expense? I can't let you go just like that. You've learned your lessons at my cost. Now you repay that cost. Be with me. And he's one of his trusted people. In life, there are no mistakes. If you can learn, understand how to capitalize on that.
Let's move on to the next question.
Hello, sir. I'm sure this book is going to be a major inspiration for all of us. And you talked about lessons, so I want to ask, as young graduates, what is the most important lesson that we can draw from this book?
What's the most important lesson? Maintain relationships. Everyone is not gifted with the skills that Gautam Adani has. But every one of us has been gifted with a skill to be pleasant, to make relationships. Even if you don't like someone, don't antagonize. Maintain relationships. You never know when an opportunity makes a door open from the most unlikely places. Just to elaborate on this a little bit more, Gautam Adani makes friends with bureaucrats. Bureaucrats are critically important when it comes to becoming the link between the government and an entrepreneur. He He makes friends with politicians. Remember, Mundra Port came up in the Congress regime, not in the BJP regime. It was Chimanbhai Patel and then Keshubhai Patel, Congress people. The revised railway link policy connecting ports and the railway line was divided by Nitish Kumar at the request of Gautam Adani as a national port linkage policy. Gautam Adani does not work only with one politician. When he goes to Mamata Banerjee, he makes a public statement saying, I will invest 10,000 crore and create 25,000 jobs. Which politician wants to throw that opportunity away? He's become the highest bidder for the Tajpur port, and he's going to negotiate a deal for the Haldia port. And this for the management, for the students of management, geopolitics and law. They need to know that why West Bengal ports are very important. West Bengal connects to Northeast India, and the Northeast is connected more by river routes than by land routes. Roads, railways are insufficient in the Northeast. You want to reach goods, you have to use boats. So Calcutta, West Bengal becomes critically important. He's also trying to negotiate Chittagong to build a port there, again the Northeast route. He almost built the Sitwe port in Myanmar. If you look at the map, Myanmar is better connected to all the northeastern states than India is. Then there was a problem. He abandoned the port to ensure that the Australian project would not get jeopardized. But as I mentioned in the book, wait 3 or 4 years, Sitwe will come back to him. He'll be the owner of Sitwe. Sitwe is geopolitical importance. The next growth area in India is the Northeast. That's a money-making region. And Adani wants to capitalize on it. Nationally, politically, strategically, India needs to strengthen the Northeast for defense, security, whatever. It needs to generate wealth from there. And Adani and the government think alike on this. The military supports this project.
Okay, we'll allow one last question and then we'll move towards felicitation. Are there any last questions we can take? Okay then.
Spoken like an investor. Okay, I can tell you what I have benefited from. I bought 50 shares of Adani Enterprises 10 years ago. I had a few thousand rupees I could afford. I bought those 50. Today, this 5,000, 10,000 rupees investment at that time has become 10 lakhs. Why? Because at that time I didn't realize it. Adani Enterprises is the incubation company. All new projects are brought on under Adani Enterprises, and as soon as the company goes public, a few shares are given free of cost to those who hold Adani Enterprises shares. And I was a beneficiary. Will the same rules apply now? I don't know, because the valuation has gone up this much. You have to think about it carefully. I believe that the most profitable projects of Adani will be agriculture related and defense related. Both these sectors will generate more profits than all the group put together. He is already the largest player in the edible oil sector. He is the only player in the country to have end-to-end logistics chain for an agricultural product, namely apples from Himachal Pradesh to Mundra and the export markets. He teaches Himachal farmers how to grow apples. He teaches them how to pluck apples, how to put them in crates and bring them to the factory. In the factory, there's an automatic sorting machine which sorts apples on the basis of color, size, firmness, and one more. There are 4 qualities. And the apples are sorted, the farmer sits in the viewing gallery watches his apples being cast aside into one of the 4 categories and then into 20 buckets below. Each bucket has a price. And the farmer, by the end of the 2 hours when the apples are sorted, knows how much he's going to get, and the money reaches his account at the end of the day. To make sure the Himachal Pradesh farmers remain loyal to him, he gives them free Medicare, free education, and free training in how to improve the yields of apples. And he's the largest player he's the largest storage facility for grains. And now he's going to agricultural drones. And I mentioned the book. When you go to agricultural drones, what do? You'll create a large army of map readers for drones. You will tie up with weather companies. You will tie up with banks to find out what is the crop that this farmer is going to have. Naturally, the government wants the data to find out what is the agricultural output. He'll tie up with insurance companies, so when there's a crop damage, the drones can capture how much of insurance damage is taking place. I expect agriculture to be a game changer in the country. Defense is another area. He's already become an exporter of military drones from India. His largest partner is Israel. Not surprisingly, he's purchased a port in Israel, in Haifa. So, those are companies that have not gone public yet, but when they do, your choice. If the pricing is right, and the timing is right, and you have the money, yes.
Thank you, sir. May I now request our Pro-Chancellor, Dwarkanath sir, to kindly felicitate R.N. Bhaskar sir.
Oh, one second. Can you send someone stand please? Okay.
It's an honor and a pleasure.
I'm honored.
We're delighted to hear you. I wish we could spend more time.
Thank you very much. I'm honored. I'm honored. Sorry for not getting up.
I now call upon Dr. Tripti Toor to kindly give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Professor Apala, for giving me this opportunity. A very good afternoon to our revered guest for today, Professor R.N. Bhaskar, to Vice Chancellor, Ma'am, Dr. Sujata Shahi, our Pro-Chancellor, Mr. Dwarkanath, our Pro-Vice Chancellor, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi. Sir, it's an absolute honor for IILM University to host this book launch. We are completely honored and thankful to you for that. For a book reader, to hear the author speak about their experiences and the journey they experienced while writing the book is a completely different experience in itself. And thank you for sharing not just your journey that you covered while writing this book, but much beyond that as well. We're extremely thankful for that, sir. I also am thankful to the management IILM University and our leadership team for providing us faculty and students with such amazing platforms where we can actually learn and experience many things that a regular life and regular experiences of classrooms do not really touch upon. Once again, thank you everyone. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We shall now have a short interview by the journalism students. Everybody else may kindly leave the auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you, you're wonderful. No, not. Your choice of words is incredible. Hi. Afternoon. Yes, I'm Bhaskar.
Siddharth Goyal from Management School of Management.
Wonderful.
Third year. They both will be interviewing.
Excellent. Delighted. In fact, I can stand up. I'm comfortable.
Chair has got the wheels, you need to be
No, no, that's it. I suddenly discovered I can stand up without the wheels.
Be comfortable. You are interviewing a great man.
No, no, no. I'm just,
Feel relaxed. Don't get tense. Thank you, sir. It was wonderful having you here, sir.
yes, 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 yes.
Thank you, sir.
My bag is somewhere here. You can put it in this end.
I'll take your leave.
It was an honor to have you.
Yes, yes. It was really wonderful, both for faculty members and the students.
Well, thank you. I'm honored. I'm very honored. Thank you. I'll sign all the books, whichever they want. I'll sign. After this, I'll come out and you can sign all the books that you want. Hi.
Sir, I'm from, all of us are from Department of Journalism. He's from BBA. He's Bhumik. And he's Siddharth.
Yeah.
So, I just wanted to tend
No problems. It's nice to be on the other side. Yes, you'll have to tell me how to remove it. और मुझे कॉपी दे दीजिए क्या क्या कुछ और सोचना
There's a stall for the books outside, and sir will also be signing a few copies. So interested parties may please move in that direction. Thank you.